Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is Naaman with the DC Camp, a branch of Great Millstone, back for another video. First and foremost, call hello Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakahapadash. And of course, double honors go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who deserve double honors and were well. Also, like to send salutations out to the fellow Akim out there on the highways and byways that are out there trying to wake up our people as to who they are and who the Most High and His Son are. The Most High being Yahweh, and His Son's name is Yahweh Shai. All right, these are exclusively for our people. All right, and we're talking about those that are referred to as the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, and those that were scattered abroad that are all over the world. All right, if your spirit identifies with this, all right, that's according to Romans 8 and 16. All right, it doesn't matter because we were scattered abroad. So common sense should tell you, hey, for however many generations that is, you're going to look like the other nations. That's just how the Most High has it. All right, that's strategy also. Going to hide you among the heathen. All right. There's a scripture that says how He did that hid us amongst Moab, which would be your current day Chinese. But let's go ahead and read this disclaimer act. All right. Copyright disclaimer: under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowances made for fair use. All right, for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. All, of course, is what I'm doing. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All right, because I'm not profiting off of this, nor do I ever intend to. All right, it's just using it as a teaching instrument. All right, so this is again Sabby Sabs, and she's out of Massachusetts, Boston, I do believe. And hey, the reason I keep using her is because, you know, she's about her business and all this information. You know, this is her podcast, and it's on point. What we have here is showing you just how much the work of the elder apostles on down, how much over the decades, all right, that it's bearing fruit, and that these people are novice. All right, they're running scared. What we're going to get into here is, of course, AIPAC. All right, and this is the very powerful Israeli lobby. All right, I'm here in DC, of course. Whew. And it's a beautiful thing to see, but we're going to dig into it, go in depth. Salakia for the noise, these a-holes across from me. But they're trying to switch up now because they've sensed, and this has been going on for a while, their own arrogance has been their own undoing. All right, it's because they, you know, thought they were untouchable, that they had everything in the bag, and it's becoming apparent that that's just what happened. But now they're switching up. They're starting to put out these commercials saying how America friendly they are. You're going to see it. I'm going to go ahead and roll a video. I don't want to spoil anything, but you'll understand what I'm talking about when you see this. And you may also understand why Charlie Kirk had to go. I said Kirk had to go.
So because Israel is now getting, there's some conservatives that are taking an issue with Israel, the U.S. supporting them, the money going that way, even pushing back on AIPAC. AIPAC has decided to.
So, Laki, before she really gets started, I just wanted, we've been telling you for oh so long about the division, all right, and how it's becoming more and more. Salakia. In fact, let me get that scripture. Keep this in mind, all right, as she goes on. Because these scriptures, these prophecies are no joke. All right, this is Mark 3. I'm going to start at 24. as Yahushua is talking to his disciples. All right. And it says, and he called them unto him, as Yahushua talking about his disciples, and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, one thing about house is you can think of it as a nation, ethnic group. All right. Even if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And you're seeing it in real time before your faces. They're fractured. All right. And I mean to the point where it's becoming deadly.
Rebrand itself as America First. They have launched a new ad trying to convince Americans that they are there for us. They are there for us and they are America first. And that's why you should support AIPAC. You have got to see this for yourself to believe it. To me, this ad reeks of desperation.
What about AIPAC?
Today, AIPAC.
On Capitol Hill, AIPAC.
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 AIPAC. You may have heard our name, but how much do you really know about AIPAC? AIPAC is an American organization that works to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship.
See what they start with? It's an American organization.
Honestly, I tried the new bearskin hoodie, and here's the truth. This fleece is thick. It's made from 340 GSM.
This partnership advances America's interests and democratic values and helps keep Israel safe.
Doesn't tell you how it so-called advances America's interests. They don't tell you what interests that it advances, right? Now, obviously, I told you guys before, I think Israel's just basically a military base that the U.S. is in charge of in the Middle East. And so those interests that they're talking about is to support.
Well, it's a bit more sinister than that, all right, because I don't know if she's, I think she brands herself, I'm talking about the young lady here, Sabby Sabs, as a Christian. I don't know how much, she knows as far as the Israelites, all right. Yeah, it's much darker than that. They have taken on the identity of us, all right. And they were hoping that our people would never wake up as to, Psalms 83rd chapter, as to who we really are. And now, for the last however long they've been aware of our people waking up, they're scared. This, as she said just a few moments ago, this reeks of desperation. And I've often said that in the past. All right. And anybody who's paying attention, that should have been clear to them also. Yeah, they've been forced to change up. All right. As I mentioned, Charlie Kirk earlier. All right. They felt him slipping away. And if he did, being the head of this very important organization, Turning Point, but it may already be too late, as you're going to see as this video keeps on.
Support that Greater Israel Project. The U.S. government supports that Greater Israel Project because they want to hold on to the resources. Remember, we talked about the Gaza Strip and all the resources that are along the Gaza Strip. The U.S. does not want those Arab countries to have control over that. That includes Gaza. That includes in Saudi Arabia. I know you've been trying to play.
I'm glad she said that. This is something that they've managed to keep out of the press for a long time. And this started actually in '63 when she said they don't want the Arabs being really in charge of anything over there. It's very important. It goes back to the Suez Canal. Here we go. David Ben-Gurion was the prime minister that was going back and forth with John F. Kennedy back in the spring very early summer of 63, because he was trying to get them to register as, the FARA, I'll get that in a second. And they refused, because at the time they were seeking nuclear weapons. All right. And, there was a whole big thing going on. They were going at each other, and Ben Gurion abruptly resigned in June of 63. Just said, fuck it. All right. And we all know what happened November 22nd of that year. All right. Here it is, the Ben Gurion Canal. This is what they had envisioned ever since then. So you see the Suez, I hope you can see my, the mouse. Oh, God dang it. Hold on. Shit. I gotta know what I'm agreeing to. Okay. Right here, runs down right here is the Suez. They don't control that. All right. We're going at it with, one of the reasons they were going at it with Egypt. All right. So they want this new one over here. And guess who was over here? Wow. There's Gaza. So they want to run this, Negev, all right? And they want this all the way run down. This is around just below the Dead Sea and all that. All the way down here in the Gulf of Aqaba, all right? So it's about that money. Money, 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 all right? So this, all right, born in the aftermath of the Suez Crisis, what did I tell you, of 56, the notion of the Ben Gurion Canal resurfaces today, offering a tantalizing glimpse into a future where maritime trade and regional dynamics in the Middle East or Western Asia undergo profound transformation. The 1963 concept paper by Howard D. Maccabee, that's interesting, has remained classified for 30 years. Despite its release in 1996, it flew under the radar. What did I just tell you? So I'm going to keep that. All right. Ammunition for later. So now hopefully you get a hint of what's really going on. All right.
Play all these different sides, because you got 1 foot over in BRICS, you got 1 foot over in the US, 1 foot over in all these different types of places. But the reality is the Greater Israel Project doesn't stop with Gaza and the West Bank. The Greater Israel Project includes part of Jordan, part of Lebanon, and also Saudi Arabia. You might want to look out too, because they'll come for you too. Benjamin Netanyahu said they want to go and liberate Africa. They want to go all the way into Africa. How are they going to go into Africa if you in the way? So that is what these so-called American interests really are. That's why they don't go forward to tell you what that is. They can talk about democracy. They continue to say that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, but they don't even tell you that Israel doesn't even have a constitution. Why is the United States supporting this state of Israel that doesn't have a constitution? People need to push that more, and people need to ask that question more. People need to mention this more, that Israel does not have a constitution. But here we go. Here we go.
Keep Israel safe. Our 5 million members are U.S. citizens, Democrats and Republicans from every part of the country who urge our elected leaders to enact pro-Israel policies. This includes expanding America's defense partnership with Israel.
See, defense. There you go. There you go. So I think they feel that this ad is going to be a big hit, but for people who are anti-war, this is not going to be a big hit.
Israel policies. This includes expanding America's defense partnership with Israel, supporting life-saving security assistance, confronting Iran and its terror proxies, and promoting peace and normalization.
They said all that, and then they say, and promoting peace and normalization. So they tell you, they keep talking about it as defense, but the reality is Israel is on the offense. Israel is the one that attacks Gaza and Syria and Lebanon and all these other countries. Israel is on the offense, not the defense. But they brand it that way to make you believe that everyone else is attacking Israel. And then something changed after October 7th when people started to see what Israel really was because of the images that we saw of the children and all the people that were being murdered in Gaza by Israel. That's when more people I noticed, started to wake up. But for years, they have told you and they brainwashed a lot of people and said that Israel is defending itself. But by law, an occupying nation does not have the right to defend itself. They're talking about this as though this is a chummy thing.
Being pro-Israel is good policy.
See, another thing, what it means by this scripture right here. Let's go to Psalms. All right, 55. It's oh so clear when you apply this. This is the nature of this damn devil. All right. This is Psalms 55 and 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. But war was in his heart. They've already broken. Well, actually, I hate to jump the gun, but she's going to get into that. All right. But war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn. Yeah, this thing is so sensitive. They were drawn swords. All right. Yet were they drawn swords. So, and that's going to become apparent once we get here.
And AIPAC members make sure it's good politics, too. We raise money to help elect pro-Israel candidates for Congress from both parties.
But I thought it was Russia that was illegally involved in wait a minute. Hold on. China? No. It's the Israelis. So why aren't they complaining? Why aren't your so-called red-blooded Edomite / white Americans complaining about that? She's going to get to that also.
And we take the political fight to our opponents, helping defeat anti-Israel candidates running for the House or Senate.
There it is right there. They tell you we help defeat those that are anti-Israel. They're telling you right to your face, they serve both parties. They're telling you their goal is to elect people that are pro-Israel. This ad to me just furthermore makes the case for third parties and independents.
AIPAC is leading the fight in Washington to secure the future of the U.S.-Israel relationship. The actions of pro-Israel Americans today will help determine the future of this bond and the fate of both countries.
Let's go to Revelation, 20th chapter. The 1,000 years. And I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. This is the time of the Renaissance. All right, these people were shut up after the fall of ancient Rome around, I think, Esau calculates that at around 470 AD. We'll give it between that time period of 325, the time of Constantine, and thereafter. All right, so that's what, 100 in about 45 years or so. All right, cool. So at the time of their coming up and out of that, out of those chains, being bound up, or circa 1353, 55 to around 1400, and there you're beginning the beginnings of the so-called Renaissance. All right, rebirth of what? Why was it called a rebirth? All right, that means that all this shit you learned in school about the Dark Ages, well, what was that about? Something they don't like to talk about. That means we were putting foot to their nasty asses. All right, look up the Woodwokes, the wild men of Europe, or the wild man of Europe. All right, all right. having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold on the dragon, clue, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Now, your Christians are going to think this is talking about, all right, the angel, and it's not. It's talking about a man, a people, all right? Verse 3, because the time jumps back and forth here. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, which circa 14, 15, 1600s, all right? And after that, he must be loosed a little season, which we are in now, all right? So he's been able to deceive. How did he deceive? How did he deceive? Well, who does he claim to be? He says that there's a heavenly Father, his Son, and the heavenly host, they look like him. Iconoclasm. And went around the world saying, you know, the Most High was white, his Son was so-called white. No. All right. And who did he go after primarily? The Israelites, the Northern Kingdom. All right. I think it was Pope Nicholas V that experimented first. And then you had the papal bulls of Rome with Pope Alexander VI and his son Cesare, which is they use for the model of your so-called Jesus Christ, with Michelangelo and who else was it? We just primarily or am I thinking of the other one? Hold on. Leonardo da Vinci. All right, so, you know, the big lie, and people see through it now. It's enough information out there, and that's one of the things that we're responsible for. All right, let's see. Let's go for that. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 10, and we'll start at 4. All right? Because this is what, you know, we always talk, keep it spiritual, you know, this, and it tells you right here, it says, verse 4, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. This is not about the physical, all right? It's not about getting weapons and going out there, because now you play into Edom's hand, because that's their blessing. All right, that's their blessing. That's not our blessing. All right, warfare not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh Shem Yahushua to the pulling down of strongholds. What's those strongholds? Casting down imaginations, all these lies, and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahweh Hamashiach Yahushua. All right, so they gave our people an idol. When you go into the writings of the Reverend Dr. Let's see, Charles Colcock. Sometimes it's hyphenated, sometimes it's not. All right. Oh, Colcock, not Colcock. There we go. This asshole here. All right. And I say that for a reason. 1804 to 1863. This devil here. You've all heard of Willie Lynch. This should come right after that. Because Willie Lynch was about what? Making a Negro slave. This bastard right here was about making a Negro Christian slave. Charles Colcock Jones Sr. was an American Presbyterian clergyman, educator, and planter of Liberty County, Georgia. He was both a slave owner and a fervent missionary to slaves, but he had ulterior motives. You got to remember what was happening during this time period. A lot of slave revolts. So the thing is, how do I punish, how do I keep these people in line without destroying product, which we would consider, all right, stock. All right. Let's see. Let me see. Sometimes called the apostle to slaves. All right. And a somewhat reluctant defender of the institution of slavery. It's a whole nother video, but the whole thing was he taught, you know, this is how to control the slaves through Christianity. Again, a whole nother video, but I'm bringing that up because these people instituted this as a method or a means of control. They weren't considered, or this wasn't about our salvation. This is about money. All right, let's go back to the video.
That is the new AIPAC ad. TD says they aren't even hiding it. No, they're not. It's all out in the open there. So I don't know why they thought that this would be better. It's like, I don't know why they thought that this would be better for them. It actually makes them look even worse. But they're trying to brand themselves as America first because of some of the MAGA supporters who have said that, hey, sending all this money and stuff to Israel is not America first, right?
We need your help to save the masjid where over 100 Americans have accepted Islam. This is your brother.
So, if AIPAC is really there to support American interest, right? If supporting Israel really supports American interests, then let me ask you this question. Why is it that we don't have this? This is right there on the commonwealthfund.org International Health Policy for Israel, for those who want to see. Check this out. Israel provides universal coverage to citizens and permanent residents as part of its national health insurance law. National health insurance. Residents choose from 4 competing nonprofit health plans that provide a mandated benefit package, including hospital, primary, specialty, mental health, and maternity care, as well as prescription drugs and other services. There are no deductibles, but some cost sharing is required for specialist visits and prescription drugs. The compulsory insurance system is funded primarily through a national.
Wow, you go broke over here just trying to keep up. Your money is going over there, yet you hear, I'm not going to jump the gun. Let's just let
income tax and an income-related health tax. Most citizens also purchase voluntary health insurance for medications not covered by the benefit package and for faster access and greater provider choice. Almost all governmental health functions are organized by the Ministry of Health, which has regional and district offices. One of the first things I noticed here is they have no deductibles. Raise your hand if you're in the chat and you have a health insurance plan that has deductibles. And what that means, at least for me, is that the insurance company is not going to pay anything until I've reached that deductible. A deductible can be from $500 to $5,000. They don't have one. So they have something we don't have. They have universal health care. We don't have that. How is this support?
Why don't we have it? Simple. Racism is expensive. Why do I say that? Because it's always been that way. If it's something that's going to benefit us, what's that saying? That cut off your own nose to spite your face. This is the mentality of the enemy in this country, in America. We'd rather do without than to have those niggers have it. Yeah. But they want to call stuff like that, socialism. But you're not complaining about these people.
Supporting our interests. This is what I want everyone to ask themselves. Whether you supported universal health care or not, why are we supporting Israel and they have things that we don't have? Everybody in this country don't have health care. Everyone in this country don't have housing. Everyone in
And they were so mad at Obama. And that piece of shit, I don't, but just as an example, remember all the backlash, and to this day, all the hatred. Obamacare, that fascist. Why is he forcing us to... It's just the optics,
in this country can't even afford to go to college. The public colleges in Israel, I think the most you pay is $3,000. We have community colleges here in this country that cost more than that. So no, they have something we don't have. Meanwhile, you're sitting up there saying, oh man, I got to get this procedure done, but the insurance company isn't going to pay anything because I have to hit that $5,000 deductible. They don't have to worry about
the guy, what's his name, Mangione, he's from around here in Maryland, that shot that, United Healthcare CEO. See, shit like that, if it wasn't for racism, that wouldn't have happened. That's why I say racism is expensive. Because at its core, that's really what it's about.
that. These are the kind of things that I want everyone to pay attention to. Why do they get universal health care, but we don't? And then we're giving them more on top of that. We're giving them more money. We give them weapons. We don't even take care of people here.
Yep.
So when people say, they're like, well, that's socialist or whatever, say that about Israel. Because they don't need our help. If they are able to use taxpayer money to have universal healthcare system, they have a defense system that pretty much protects them more than anybody else. They don't need us. There is no reason why we should be giving Israel any support, any aid. We need to help people right here. Period. But this is the other reason why they are rebranding. Here it is, folks. Glenn Beck had an event recently, and these are young conservatives. And listen to the questions.
The very ones that Turning Point was created in order to get while they were young. Listen to this. This is what they feared. This is why Charlie Kirk had to go.
That they are asking Glenn Beck.
Israel has an overwhelming lobby over the United States government, and we have unconditionally supported them. We have fought their wars in the Middle East. Bibi Netanyahu came to our Congress in the 90s, told us a list of countries that we need to take out. Some were Syria, Iraq, Iran, Libya, etc. Through those wars, we have lost trillions of dollars. We have lost American servicemen.
We're lobbying everybody else, and they will.
First or Israel first?
No one's laughing.
Yes.
No one's
Are you
laughing.
America first or Israel first? Easy question. Charlie was America first. What are you?
Charlie was starting to notice about the Israel lobby.
Could I answer my question? Could I answer the question, please?
You're talking about one thing they don't teach in school? They don't teach about the USS Liberty, where Israel literally came, blew up an American ship because they want us to get in their war with Egypt, and they don't teach that in school. I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Everybody see what's happening? So you see, this is why AIPAC is rebranding, and they are describing themselves as America first. These young kids are not stupid.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
I have a question. Why is there this societal taboo around criticisms of Israel? For example, AIPAC doesn't have to register as a foreign lobby, but like the Australia lobby does. And it just
That should be changed. That should be corrected. Look, I am not going to say Israel should have any special privileges. None.
AI can build an entire app in a minute, while the only AI most people over 40 know is ChatGPT.
People are tired, man. People are fucking fed up. Can't leave out the Israelites, whether they want to admit it or not. All right. Like exactly, and that's why they don't give a shit. All right. These people know that what they can and cannot do, and it's very little that they cannot do. That's why they keep doing it. All right, and continue to not heed warnings. All right.
And then there's this poll that just came out. I'm surprised they showed this on CNN. You guys have got to see this.
Yeah, this war caused a historic shift in public opinion on how Americans view the Middle East conflict. What are we talking about here? Who voters sympathize more with, the Israelis or the Palestinians? Back in October of 2023, it was the Israelis by 48 points. Look at this shift. Now we're talking about the Palestinians by a point. I looked back at every single poll that I could possibly find.
Because information got out about how the military was told to stand down. You have that little tiny area over there that's so secure. All right. You wouldn't be lying if you would say that's probably one of the most secured areas on the planet. And yet, some ragtag, no, soldiers came forth, IDF soldiers came forth and said they received an order to stand down. All right. You had a witness. I got her recorded somewhere. I made sure I did that because I knew that probably never going to find that again. She testified as to when the shit started kicked off. All right. About the people that were killed, got killed in a crossfire. All right. Wasn't no beheading babies or anything like that. That shit. And that's another thing that came up. And, you know, they exposed the outright lies that the Israelis told. And this was all, as they normally do, done to garner sympathy for them.
since this question was first asked in the 1980s. This is the first time ever in which the Palestinians had any sort of lead on this particular question. It is very clear that this war caused a historic shift away from the Israeli position in the Middle East conflict and towards the Palestinians when it comes to who Americans and voters sympathize with. This, of course, was led by Democrats, because what are we talking about? We went from Democrats favoring the Israelis by 26 points to the Palestinians by 46 points. That is a shift, John, quick math in my head, of over 70 percentage points. But overall, the first time ever in which more Americans sympathize with the Palestinians over the Israelis. Truly a historic shift.
It's a big.
This is a first that I have seen in my lifetime. This is huge. And we got to give credit where credit is due. We got to give credit to independent media. We got to give credit to all the journalists.
Exactly, because another thing, while they're rushing, you have to consider all these old heads that they could depend on to believe that Israel, them being the chosen people and all that, these people are dying off fast. So there was a huge push to gain I should say to get the minds of these young people coming up. All right, but it didn't work the way that they thought it was. You could chalk that up to ultimately it's the Most High pulling the strings. Also consider in that, as part of that, is what? Technology. Technology, such as it is, as she said, the independent news, the people that aren't bought off, that are part of these, huge conglomerates, news conglomerates, That's huge.
That reported what they saw on the ground in Gaza, because without them, we don't get those images on social media. Journalists that risk their lives, a lot of these journalists were killed by the IDF. Mm-hmm. Without them, we didn't get those images. We would have never seen those images of those kids. We would have never seen Israel targeting just random children, just walk.
Yeah, the one that the weeping man, Van Jones, was making fun of. And come to find out, he's bought and paid for by these same individuals.
Down the street, Israel shooting dogs and cats. The evil that Israel has become. We would never have seen it had it not been for.
I have to disagree with you there. They've always been that way. See, you have to understand a lot of that, and if you go into the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, in one of those chapters, it talks about how, I can't remember which one it was. It talks about how they had to do away with all the negative, which just turned out to be right, history of them, and turn that all around. This has been a process ever since then, all right, including World War II, what Hitler did. All right, and everybody's talking about the Austrian painter was right, and he was, but they spun that. Another word for spin in this case is lie. They lied to the point, they twisted everything, and they got these people feeling sorry. Oh, it's the Holocaust, and turns out that was never the case. All right, but all this has come out over the years, and this is what has helped to shape the opinions that you're experiencing now. It's not working now. And again, I have to go back to the point I just made just a moment ago about all these old heads dying off.
For those journalists on the ground in Gaza. And it woke people up. And that's how we got here. And that's why AIPAC is panicking. And that's why they have that new ad. And that's why they're trying to rebrand themselves as America First. Israel is in trouble. Israel did not even win this war. As much as Benjamin Netanyahu was going around telling people we won, no, you didn't. Because your mission was to destroy Hamas and get the hostages back. You did not destroy Hamas. Last time I checked, Hamas was entering back in pretty proudly. They're alive and well. So that didn't happen. Israel did not win. They lost. And they lost the media war. They lost the narrative. They lost some conservatives, which is very troubling for them because they depend on the conservative base.
And that's what it goes back to, everything I said, the narrative. Hillary Clinton told you that the first, when she ran against her first presidential run. You lost the information war. Therefore, you can't shape the narrative like you used to.
In particular, the evangelicals, they lost some of the Charlie Kirk base. I've never seen this before in my life. That's how we get here, folks.
Shift overall, a big shift within the Democratic Party. What about Republicans?
Yeah, it's not just Democrats, though, in which we have seen a real shift of opinion. Even within the Republican ranks, this war has caused real division. What are we talking about? Well, we often talk about by age within the Democratic Party, but what about by age within the Republican ranks? Who Republicans sympathize with? You see a massive, huge age divide. Those 50 and over, what we see amongst Republicans is they sympathize more with the Israelis by 66 points. But look at the voters under the age of 50. They do sympathize with the Israelis, but just by 25 points. We're talking about a 40-point difference, with the youngest Republicans being far more sympathetic to the Palestinian position than older Republicans are.
That's a huge.
And that's why Israel has hired these pro-Israel, the paid influencers that they're paying $7,000 per post. That's why they hired them. That's why they signed them. When I showed you all the faces of those paid pro-Israel influencers, notice they were all young. They hired them to reel back in the conservative youth to be pro-Israel again. They don't have to do that for the older voters for the most part, according to these numbers, but they got to get that youth back in.
This scale doesn't just track weight, it tracks 45 key health metrics. It's unbelievable. I thought I was putting on
Winning the hearts and minds. That's what it's about.
That's hired.
Winning the hearts and minds.
Huge gap, right? Let's say that.
That huge gap can be very interesting. The Republican just going.
The news ceasefire, the turn Israeli hostages. What's like the reaction?
Yeah.
They go to the hostage we covered before. It is all about, ladies and gentlemen, don't fool. They know that they're in trouble. So they do believe that they can get people by out these ads describe themselves as America first. No, you're not. No, you're not. Any other lobby would register as a foreign agent. You should have to register as an agent. Not prefer when basically help themselves and say that they are committed to pro-Israel. Israel first. That's not a prefer. Homeless here. People struggling with health here. We got people who don't have heat here. We got people that can't afford to put a game on a home here. Young people get jobs when they're graduating college right here. They're fine. I think the big thing that we need to push and continue to say, Israel have a constitution, so you agree with that only democracy needs. It's universal health care, but around them how you have that because socialism is the left out. So why they have it? You who would get rid of the universal health care. No, that's it. Control and there's Americans. Again, one of these cases fools. Yeah.
So there you go. Never trust thine enemy. I was going to say, as far as that deal with the hostages and everything, they broke it immediately. Israel broke it. In fact, they never signed anything. How about that? But the Arab nations did. And she's right. They don't have a constitution. So all these people caught up in this big lie that these are the chosen people. That was your first mistake. All right, like I said, never trust thine enemy. They have proved to be ours. They're the ones that finance the slave trade. Why? They've known who we were all along. Those piece of shit Muslims too. Those are our enemies. Psalms 83 got them listed as 1 and 2. With Edom, the so-called white man, being 1, and the motherfucking Arabs, Ishmael, being number 2. And yet Jakes, they want to run. If they're not Christians, they want to be retarded ass Muslims. Go figure, huh? All right, so this is going to do it for this video. I hope whoever views this has been edified. And this is, like I said at the onset, this is a beautiful thing to see. All right, because these prophecies, like we've been trying to tell you, they're happening right in front of your face. A lot of you don't even see it. So these scriptures, hey, are the truth. Once again, this has been from Savvy Sabs, America First AIPAC Ad Controversy. All right, and once again, I'm going to remind you to be circumspect out there. All right, because things are only going to get worse from here on out. So with that, until the next video, hey, shalom, shalom.